Joe. All right, yeah, let's do it.
It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents, not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Brand new show this week. All kind of great stuff going on. Tell you, huge news with interest rates. Just hit a 2025 low interest rates, which is amazing. We'll take that. We've already seen buyer activity increase, and it goes all the way back to October 2024. So great news for us overall in terms of real estate world. Buyers are getting a little more free. They can move, and you're already seeing people jump back in. Sellers who may have been locked in some interest rates, a little more free. We're not quite where we want to be yet, but we're getting very, very, very close, which is awesome. Let's talk about that today. I'll talk about the news, what's going on. I'll recap the overall the entire macro market for anybody that missed last week's show, what's happened in the marketplace, what's going on. For next week's show, we'll have the brand new numbers in from this month. So we'll break all that down. But interesting enough, we're seeing a very, very positive and strong fall market coming into place. And we're having like every major like influencer and coach in the real estate industry is talking about, man, we're about to see some big time runs once rates get below 6.5, just for like a mental threshold that people are at. And also, we'll talk about the Fed. Obviously, be some big news coming out next week. The jobs report. We'll talk about that on next week's show. But for now, new low for 2025, which is awesome. We'll talk about that. Also talk about a crazy, crazy horror story. I mentioned it a few weeks ago, but now it's finally just gotten to the point where it closed, where a horror story, my neighbor actually listed her house and cost herself over $250,000 by choosing the wrong agent. I'll explain how, explain why. It's an amazing, beautiful house that was on the waterway, underpriced by, in my opinion, I think 350,000 plus, but I'm being conservative saying 250 plus, underpriced like crazy. Sold it too quick for too much. And now somebody's coming and just tearing it down and build something else unbelievable. We'll talk about the story and why the agent you choose means so much in terms of this. We'll break the whole story down, but crazy horror story, leaving $250,000 on the table, in my opinion. And I think it's actually a lot more than that, but we'll break the whole story down with you. Also, we had this on the agenda for the last 3 weeks, just didn't get time to. So we have time, we'll get to that. Some national data showing why selling without an agent will cost you a whole lot more than you think. National data says about 15%. If you look at the two different numbers of what it looks selling with an agent, without an agent. My mom talked about that saying all the time, that's a nickel holding up a dollar. And we'll break down the exact data why. And also, our investment fund purchased another property this past week. We have a full-time acquisitions person that's with us, in addition to our real estate team that gives multiple hats we can wear. We can either get it sold for cash with our investment fund with millions of dollars. We can also sell it for top dollar, which we're very good at, which we're best at, been doing that for 20 plus years, is selling it for full retail value, the absolute most that you want to get for it. And we also have a kind of maximum flexibility option where you can have instant buyers come in addition to us. So lots of great stuff there. Bolton, property. That was an Arrowhead, very nice house on the golf course. Lady moved out of town, didn't want to have to deal with anything. Good shape house, just a little mess on the inside. She didn't want to deal with it. So we took all that stuff. We're taking it, getting it all taken out, disposed of, cleaned up, painted, carpet, all that stuff. And she's super happy. She got what she wanted number wise, plus a little bit more. And we came in, take all that off her hands. She already moved out of town a month and a half prior, and just come back, get a few things, boom, easy go. So that's something we'll talk about as well. Just lots of great stuff. We're doing the same thing we do pretty much every single week on this show. It's just we have one goal, and that's the same thing we're doing for really 15 plus years on the same station, is to keep you updated with anything, everything real estate related. For most people, real estate's their largest asset. And so I want to just give you the data, give you the information. Obviously, it may feel very similar each week because obviously the one thing that changes is the data and the information. I just want people that listen to be able to make great decisions, be in the know, be able to have great, intelligent conversations, but more importantly, just be in the know of how to handle your largest assets. For most people, the real estate. So if you want to come back, listen to these, go online to YouTube, just type in Blake Sloan Radio Show. You can also search me on your favorite podcast platform, Blake Sloan Radio. Also, you can follow me on Facebook at Blake Sloan. Follow our company, Sloan Realty Group. We stream all those live on there for you guys to see. But lots of great stuff. Make sure you stay tuned.
For any new listeners, Just to give you an update on just who Blake is, it's an amazing story. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He has been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. One of those by itself is an accomplishment, but all of them together is unprecedented. Last week, we learned a little about how you and your team work and how a good portion of your success has come from the trademark systems you have developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly and a quick overview of how they work, Blake.
Absolutely, Rick. And that's the whole reason why I do this show, the whole DNA behind it, the whole why I've been doing this show for so long, because of the example of the horror story I just told you. And I made a promise years ago. And unfortunately, is my neighbor. It gets a little crazy lady. Her husband died. Her husband and I are buddies. She's a little older, and her yard guy kept dumping his yard stuff on my yard a couple years ago. And I was like, man, I said something to him. Hey, quit dumping your stuff on my yard. And I guess she got mad that I said something to him about that. She finally did come over and see they did, and she fired him, ended up hiring my guy, but ended up, obviously, that's one of the reasons she didn't choose me. But here's the deal. It makes me sick to my stomach to watch somebody throw away $250,000 plus of their hard-earned equity. And so here's the deal. The whole reason why we do this show, I just want to help break the number one mistake that consumers make. And I'm telling you, the most affluent people make the worst mistakes. It's been the most eye-opening thing to me in this business 20 plus years. Like, for example, like people in Pawleys Island, love you guys, Pawleys Island, they think only an agent who lives in the neighborhood in Pawleys Island can actually sell the house, which is the worst thing because they only have access to a small mud puddle, right? I want the fish in the big pond who has buyers all over, because guess what? A lot of people in New York and New Jersey who have a lot of money, they don't necessarily know about Pawleys Island in the beginning. They need somebody there to search in Myrtle Beach, right? Because you don't see people talk about Pawleys Island or Litchfield on the national news media. So guess what they search? They search Myrtle Beach. You want the top agents there in Myrtle Beach who covers that area, and they can say, you know what? You might be a great fit for this neighborhood down here. And boom, you want to have somebody with a much bigger pond, right? I want somebody who's fishing out the ocean, not somebody fishing in the mud puddle in the backyard, right? And so that's just one of the big mistakes that people make over and over and over. But here's the deal. The single most important variable that any home seller makes that determines the single most important variable that determines your success or failure that for any home seller comes down to one thing only. The thing is the agent that you choose, period. And just go back to like, what's the number one mistake that people make? And it happens over and over and over and over. They think that all real estate agents are the same, and it could not be any further from the truth. And I get why people think that sometimes, because unfortunately, the majority of agents are very similar, right? If you take down the average amount of homes that the average agent sells, so take the amount of homes sold in our area divided by the amount of agents, 6,000. So if you know one, everybody knows 5 or 6 agents, right? And so the reality is they sell 1 home per quarter, 4 homes per year. And so there's not much knowledge. There's not much expertise. There's not any money to spend in marketing because there's not any money to eat with when you're selling 4 homes a year. And so the reality is you don't want to gamble with your largest asset with somebody who's only doing 1 home per quarter, who's doing it part-time, or who just doesn't have a pulse of what's happening. Because if I'm sold 1 house last quarter and I'm listing your house this quarter, what's the reality that I have a true pulse of what's happening in the marketplace? You don't, right? You're basing things on what happened 3 months ago. And so you have to understand, like, this is your largest asset. You cannot gamble with it. And that's the only thing I want people to take from this show, because I'll say it over and over and over again. Just like any doctor, just like any lawyer, that makes a massive difference. Like, for example, I have a couple dermatologists I go to. I've had a health challenge before. Melanoma runs in my family. And I go to 2 different ones. One doesn't know about the other one. And the reality is one takes so much time, spends so much time, looks every single part, every mold to make sure everything's right. The other one, guess what? Rushes right through. It's like literally 1/4 the time that the other appointment does. And so it just such a lesson that people who take time, who understand details, who execute the highest level is what you have to have when you have something complex like selling your house, who has a long sales cycle, and it's a high ticket item, which means there's lots of emotion involved. You have so many variables, because when you're selling a property, there's 118 different variables. Each one's handled correctly, puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. Anything sold incorrectly, AKA they drop the ball at any point. And that can be anything from the pricing strategy, which we'll talk about that in a second. We'll talk about the photo quality, the actually order the photos, the details. For example, the one we just had more recently is missing some key data. For example, lot size is wrong. It's a massive double lot on the waterway. Lot size being listed a little bit wrong. Also, the ability to have short-term rentals was he mentioned, where you can have those type of things with Airbnb, because it's a pocket that's in the city of Myrtle Beach area, but not actually in the city. You're in the county where you could actually have an Airbnb or do something like that, which is a lot more valuable to certain people that are looking to buy those type of high-end homes. And so mostly what you end up happening is agents are too busy. They don't answer the phones that come in. They don't answer the inquiries. You probably know if you called for a sale sign before or reach out to an agent. Most don't respond. We talked previously, and it's actually in our documentary at blakesloan.com, where the average number when you call a real estate agent in the United States, less than 50% of agents even call you back. And it's done with over 3,000 real estate companies they called, and less than 50% of people even call the buyer back. And so that's another variable that gets missed. And it's not that the agent is mean or they don't want to, it's just they're too busy. It's an old school broken business model. And so you have to understand you're gambling here with the largest asset. The agent you choose matters, right? If I'm charged with a crime I didn't commit, or if I have somebody suing me trying to take all my assets that I spent my whole life building, the last thing I want is some part-time attorney who's tried a few cases. I don't want the cheapest attorney either, right? I want the most aggressive attorney who specializes in that type of law, who's going to be an absolute beast in the courtroom to give me a competitive advantage. And you should demand the same level of excellence for your largest asset. But for some reason, people pick their most random person that calls them out of the blue, or someone who's the cheapest, right? They make their decisions based on the absolute worst criteria possible. And so my job on this show is just to educate you. Hey, look, you want to make sure you ask certain questions, right? What are you doing to make my property different? What type of marketing do you do? How many properties like mine have you sold? How many in my area have you sold? What type of buyers do you have? Where do you get your buyers from? Those are the type of questions you want to ask. And then you pick the agent based on the best value. Not saying it's be the most expensive, because we're pretty much the same price as everyone else. And so the reality is you just want to make sure you understand that you're able to pick the agent that best serves you. For example, there's a lot of people in our business that cold call, right? They cold call every morning. They cold call expires. They cold call just random neighborhoods. And so if they're spending 50% of their day cold calling in the morning, they call literally 200, 300 homes through a dialer. They talk to you. They tell you how good they are. And then what do you think they do on that telephone call? They book an appointment for the afternoon. And then they spend all afternoon going to listing appointments. And so how much time do you think they have their marketing? Zero, right? Why? Because they're making cold calls. If they're good at marketing, wouldn't have to cold call, right? In addition to that, much time they have work with buyers if they're cold calling sellers all day, and then the afternoon going to appointments with sellers. So if somebody's cold calling you, guess what? They ain't the one. They're not the one you want, because they don't understand marketing. They're not doing marketing at a high level. They're just cold calling you, promising the world to get your listing. And so here's the deal. The single most important variable, like I mentioned, comes down to the agent you choose. And so you want to make sure you ask yourself the right questions. So what I did, I got in the business like, man, this business model is broken. You have one agent juggling all these balls. So they're working with buyers, working with sellers, doing marketing, if they do any, very few do. They're doing their administrative work, which is the execution, put it to MLS, schedule showings, getting showing feedback. They're also doing any contract to close things like home inspection contingencies, finance contingencies, all that. And you have the same person, McDonald's, in the front register drive through and French fries at the same time. So very, very inefficient. That's why I designed the thing called the Guaranteed Sold System. The only proven system sells twice as fast and for 21% more money than traditional methods. And it's absolutely mind blowing. I met with an agent. I mentioned last week's show. Met him last week. Came down from New York. Had a team in New York. They sold 200 homes a year. I showed him our listing process we had, and he was absolutely blown away. He's like, "This is the craziest thing I've ever seen." He's like, "So you're telling me I can have a Mercedes S-Class for the same price as a Kia?" I'm like, "Yep, that's it." He's like, "This is the easiest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is unbelievable." And so that's what a real estate agent who's been doing this business for 20 plus years thinks. You'll be absolutely blown away as a home seller if you just take the time to look at it. If you want to learn more about it, I put a documentary together. You can go to blakesloan.com to check it out, because we're here to serve at the highest level. We also, for buyers out there, the agent you choose matters more than anything else. You got to have somebody good. Don't just go look at random properties with random agents. You want somebody who's an expert who knows what they're doing. And so we have a thing called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System for buyers out there. Gives priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as the home inspection to get you to that closing table successfully. And so if you want to know more how either one of those work, reach out, give me a call, 843-808-SOLD. You can also go to blakesloan.com, watch that documentary. You can submit information you want on there. I will take a quick break right back here in a second. Here with the only real estate agent in your market that I recommend, Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Thanks for joining me today. You know, a lot of people may be thinking about selling their home, but they want to make sure they're getting the most money possible. What options do you have available to make selling a home easier?
Hey, Sean, we have 3 unique, innovative options for home sellers right now.
First, we have a program for maximum convenience, where I represent a large investment fund with millions of dollars looking to buy homes at a fair price in the Myrtle Beach Grand Strand area. Or we have a program for maximum speed, where I can match your property up with over 100,000 plus active home buyers looking to buy properties here on the Grand Strand. Or three, maximum value. We have a proven system that'll sell your home twice as fast and for the 5 to 15% more money than traditional methods.
All right, thanks for keeping us up to date. Call the agent that creates the most demand. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corbett. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sales, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers at time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, take after a home, or even rent a home.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time,
Use our proven marketing plan and sell it for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get the home sold on your terms.
Welcome back, Blake Sloan Radio Show. Market update, all kind of stuff going on here. We'll talk about two types of numbers we can do every week. Talk about the review mirror numbers. That's what closed last month. And thankfully, next week's show, the new numbers in. They're interesting to see. We went through micro market numbers last week, which was like each zip code. And you saw some significant swings, right? Double-digit differences between certain areas of the beach, which is why the data is so important that you use when you're making good decisions, because you're talking about large swings, 15, 20% in some areas different. So we'll talk about two types. The front windshield numbers, hey, that's what's happening in real time. That's the pulse of the market. That's what's going under contract every 7 days. We track this in our office every single morning. And for me, it's really kind of the most valuable data because it lets me know, hey, what's going on right now? What's buyer sentiment like? What's buyer confidence like? And we've been tracking this since COVID-19 started. So looking here, how many properties went under contract the last 7 days? 502 properties for 200 million, 203,000. So anytime we're at 200 million, it's rock and rolling, which is really good right now. If you're talking about the fall marketplace, right? When kids are back in school, less people are in town. But what it means is lots of buyers are in town. Specifically, we see a different demographic, people with less children, people who want to avoid the crowds. They're the kind of double income, no kids. They're coming in. We see big money start to come in this time of year, historically overall. Some big time properties, one property in Cherry Grove, $4.5 million under contract on the ocean. 3 properties over $2 million under contract. 19 properties over $1 million under contract the last 7 days. 96 properties over $500,000 under contract the last 7 days. So big time stuff happening, which is really good for this time of year. Inventory is actually hanging tight where it was, 1,697 properties that are single family homes in Horry County on the market. What's that mean? Well, inventory is up from where it was, which is great news for buyers. There's a little more choices out there. Remember back a while back, there was like 600 homes on the market. Now there's 1,697. Those are resale homes in Horry County, which is great news. Last week's show, we're pretty much close. We were 509 properties for 193 million. So we're up 7 million this week versus last week, which is a little bit more higher end properties. So great news there overall. If you look at properties that closed last month, so that's a rearview mirror numbers, closed sales pretty much flat last month. It was up 0.9%, and that's in terms of units sold. So you're looking back of July 2024 versus July 2025. Sales price overall, thankfully, is holding pretty decent. Median price up 5.7%. Which is great news. Right now, the median price at $400,000 even on the dot. And it's been bouncing around the last few months. Right now, average sale price up 4.3% from the same time last year at $497,295. It is down from the high. May 2024 was at $520,000. December of this last year was at $510,000. And even May of this year is at $507,000. Right now, we're at $497,000. So it's been bouncing around a little bit. Depends on the actual way you look at the data, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. But if you look at July 2024 versus July 2025, it's up 4.3%, which is great news. One thing looking at is actually supply. Home supply, the amount of homes in the market's up 20.9% from the same time last year. Right now, we're at 5.2 months of inventory, which is down month versus month. It was at 5.3 in June, so 5.4 in June. So we're down to 5.2, which is great news. What's the most important number for anybody to know? This is it right here. It's the showings per listing. So right now, the average showings per listing that the average listing gets for a home in the MLS is 3.7. The question is, how many showings does it take on average before the property goes under contract? It takes 12.8. So you can see it needs almost 4 times the amount of showings that the average listing gets to get a contract. That's why properties list, less than 50% of properties get listed actually sell. So there's a 50% chance. Think about that. Would you ever go on an airplane if you had a 50% chance of making it to a destination? Absolutely not. But people still list with any random agent, have less than 50% chance of getting it sold, which is crazy. And so you want to have somebody who can have the ability to drive eyeballs and traffic to get you to 12.8 showings in most cases. We help our clients get that down a little bit by just having a process, a plan in place. You want to make the curb appeal look really good, and that way you can reduce that. But it comes down to numbers, right? Is the language of business. You want to understand how to use that to your advantage, and that's what we do very, very, very well for our clients. Days on market, right now it's 105 days on average for a property that sells a single family home. And again, those are the ones that actually sell. 50% of properties don't actually sell, and those numbers are much higher if they relist or pull off the market, whatever that may be. Closed sales, looking at condos, down 13.5% last month. Right now, the average sale price for a condo down 6.2% from the same time last year, $259,000. Median price at $229,000. That's down 6% overall. Condo inventory is up 30% from the same time last year. Right now, there's 8.6 months of inventory. That's by far a buyer's market. The buyers are in control. Sellers are obviously struggling right now. You want to make sure you have a great agent because there's a lot of condo inventory. Buyers are scared of condos right now due to HOA assessments, increase in insurance, increase in monthly HOA dues. There's a lot of those issues we have to kind of watch out for. And so you want to make sure you have the right differentiation. If you look at those numbers, the most important numbers, which are showings per listing, the average condo only gets 2 showings the entire time it's listed. So a 6-month agreement, you're getting 1 showing every 3 months. That's a by far massive struggle and a waste of your time. Here's the reality. How many showings it take to get a contract? 9.2. So you need 4 times the amount of showings that the average listing gets. Really, in that case, you have a little over 4 times the showings to get. So you need 9.2. The average listing only gets 2. And so that's the biggest, most important number. You understand why the agent you choose matters more than anything. You have to get somebody that can get you to the showing amount of 9.2 showings. And the fact is most agents can. So if you want to know how that works and how to get that to your advantage, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. One thing driving all this right now is interest rates. And so right now, the great news is last week's show, I was at 5.55. Right now, we're looking at a 30-year fixed rate is right now at 6.50%, the lowest it's been since October 3rd, 2024, which is amazing, amazing news right there. Some of this comes on the heels of Jerome Powell's speech he gave, I think last week, week before. Rates have jumped down, I think 16 basis points since then. Great news. The next Fed meetings in 19 days overall. And we have some data that tracks it right now. There's an 86.9% chance that they're going to reduce the Fed rate 1/4 point, which is great news for the mortgage rates indirectly. 15-year fixed rate right now, 5.86%. 30-year jumbo loan, 6.45%. A 30-year FHA loan, 6.06%. And a 30-year VA, 6.08. The big number everyone's talking about. If we can get between 6 and 6.5, you're going to see 5 million more buyers who are sitting on the sidelines nationally who are waiting to get in to get to that threshold because it makes the numbers they want. There's so many buyers sitting on the sidelines right now. And so if you want to get your property sold, everyone's predicting we're going to see the next Fed meeting, see a reduction in rates, which will indirectly affect the mortgage market. You want to get your property teed up now. You want to take action before it gets to November when everyone gets the holiday brain and get frozen, right? If you're thinking about selling, you had your property in the market before, reach out, call me. It's by far a beautiful time of year here. Weather's still great, and lots of buyers with big money are still coming in town. And so you want to tee your property up, get paddling before the wave gets here of buyers that jump in with rates continue to go down. Give me a call, 843-808-SOLD. Take a quick break, right back in a sec with a hot buyers alert.
Two or one? 2 or 1 spot?
1.
You want dinner or you want Clay and Buck?
Who's the first one?
Clay and Buck?
Who was the other one?
Dinner you like?
Clay and Buck.
Hey, WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan.
Okay, thank you.
Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his guarantee.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with 2 mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's show Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Welcome back, Blake Sloan radio show. Hot buyers alert. My team and I are working a ridiculous amount of home buyers looking at our properties here, Myrtle Beach, Grand Strand area, from $250,000 to $4.3 million. If you think about selling, give us a call immediately. 843-808-SOLD. It's 843-808-SOLD. One thing we've been doing for a long, long time here is putting our money where our mouth is. Most agents, they don't start looking for a buyer until they put the sign on the ground after you sign a listing agreement. With us, we're spending $100,000+ a month every single month in marketing, $1 million plus a year in marketing right now, generating buyers from all across the globe. And our team follows back up, makes 10,000 phone calls per week, and we're following back up with them, matching up buyers and sellers aggressively, because that's who we are. That's what we do. That's our culture. But here's the deal. We share how many active buyers we have right now. 80,526 active home buyers. Again, 80,526 active home buyers from all over. Right now, I got Deb Riley from Salisbury, North Carolina. I got Portia from Houston, Texas. I got Trey from Sanford, North Carolina. I got Stephanie, Carlton, Texas. I got John from Washington, PA. I got Brockton, Massachusetts, Mount Sinai, New York. Let's see, Knoxville, Tennessee, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. All these are searching our site right now. Rodney Glos from Slatington, PA, Easley, South Carolina. Here you go, Clintonville, Wisconsin. And so the bottom line is we have buyers from all over the globe. And so if you're thinking about selling, remember that thing we talked about earlier, the most important number is how many showings you can get. You want the one who has what we call buyers in waiting. And so we show our clients that. Absolutely blows their mind. We even have software that reverse engineers the most likely buyer based on their previous search history to match them and score them up to your property. Then we make the phone calls and attack. And so definitely want to be a part of that and check it out. Really quick, awesome, couple awesome success stories. Tyler and Laura owned a high-end home in Surfside, and we're trying to relocate back to North Carolina. Back closer to family. They listed our home with a friendly friend for 6 months. Only 2 showings, no offers. They were beyond frustrated. They missed 6 months to be back with their family. They had almost given up after being frustrated, but they'd asked around. They had 2 separate friends recommend Blake Sloan, which is pretty cool. Thankfully, they called us. We came in. I immediately defined the problem, which is marketing. I came in, designed a custom plan, also a global marketing blitz, professional photos, virtual reality walkthrough, drone photography. Within 2 weeks, drove massive traffic, 9 showings, and an offer right at full price. They were absolutely blown away. Now they moved back to be closer to family, which is awesome. Also, David and Ginger owned a home in Little River, made a decision to get back up to North Carolina, where they're originally from. They had the house in the market, another agent for 6 months, no success. Get the property sold, only a few showings. Thankfully, explored other options. Another couple investors who are only paying pennies on the dollar. They were also referred to us by an awesome listener, which is great. We came in, designed a custom plan, also a global marketing blitz, professional photos, drove massive traffic. Within 2 weeks, they had a fantastic offer on their property. They were to move back, full confidence, put maximum equity in their pocket. Really quick, I've got 2 minutes left. My neighbor, absolute horror story, just closed. They have amazing double lots, which is very rare, on the waterway in Myrtle Beach. It's an older neighborhood near the mall. Property all day, every day, worth $1.2 million. Came up on the market for $775, and we were absolutely shocked and blown away. There's another property on the same street that went under contract early this year, one single lot at $800. They withdrew it. They didn't show an MLS it closed, but it actually closed, and the owner did a lease back. So long story short, double the lot, 1.2 all day, listed it. I actually posted on Facebook, a neighborhood group. They got super pissed about it. They upped the price to $800. I even called the agent, and he said, well, higher end stuff's taking longer to sell right now. I was absolutely shocked. Property sold, obviously. The person that bought it is just tearing it down and building a dream home on 2 lots there on the waterway. They easily cost themselves $250,000. I think it's more. They've sold below $800,000, 1.2 all day, every day on the waterway, very few lots and houses there. And so just don't make that mistake. It all comes down to the agent you choose, how they execute the strategy. These are big stakes. It's not just a TV at Best Buy, right? It's not a $50 problem here. You're talking $250,000 that would have been in that person's pocket by picking the right agent. Do not make that mistake. Reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. 808 sold. You also have a tool. You can get an instant online evaluation, our human evaluation who knows the details, knows the market, blakesloan.com. We'll see you back here at the same time next week.